Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 20th of June. Fixture release day. I'm Derek Clark, of course, and I'm joined by Johnny McFarlane. How's it going, Johnny?
Good, Derek. I'm looking forward to the 27-degree heat here in Glasgow. Not because I'm going to be working through it, so I'll be sitting up here in my office boiling. But listen, complaining about sun in Scotland is not really a good look, so I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at what the temperature is going to be like down here. It was 30 at one point yesterday. It's going to be 29 today and tomorrow. So, not exactly. What's that? Yeah. You don't need to tell me about that. I was going to say tap's off weather, but the tap is staying well and truly on my body, and seeking shade at all times, given my complexion. But it's going to be a hot one, folks. It's a day for a beer garden, Johnny. That's what it's a day for, is it not?
Well, you could have stopped it day for a beer. That's basically any day for me. But yes, I agree. You want to be out there with a couple of pals, sitting in the sun, enjoying it, sharing a couple of pints and relaxing. You just can't beat it. And unfortunately, Scotland doesn't have enough of these. But yep, tonight it's all there for us. And tomorrow, I believe, is going to be similarly gorgeous. So
yep.
Everyone be safe and make sure you're using sunscreen and all the rest of it, but enjoy it while it's here because it never lasts long.
Yeah, absolutely. Remy gets in touch from Malaga Airport, no less. If you're flying back to the Blighty, Remy, then it's going to be very much like Malaga. So don't worry about coming back home. That's for sure. Right, quick word for our podcast sponsors before we get stuck into the Rangers news. The great guys at Willows Fencing. If you're looking for a new fence, these are the guys to call, folks. Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience and unparalleled quality. Their qualified team is dedicated to keeping customers happy and providing exceptional work. They aim to deliver nothing but perfection in every job. They offer free consultations, and you also get the 10% discount if you use the code Rangers Review on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. So do go and check them out. Right, we'll kick off with the fixtures that were released at 9 a.m. this morning. Rangers will start off the campaign away to Motherwell at Third Park on the 2nd of August. No doubt it'll be at a 12 p.m. kickoff. That one, you'd imagine. Rangers then welcome Dundee to Ibrox on the 9th of August. And then there's a bit of a break in between. I think it might be an international break. St Mirren, Rangers go there on the 23rd of August. Then it's the first Old Firm clash of the season at Ibrox, which is scheduled in for Sunday, the 31st of August. So there you go. Rangers going to Third Park on the opening day, Johnny. I've seen Russell Martin giving an interview to Sky, and he's going to go up against his ex-Norwich teammate, who is now the Motherwell manager as well, which will add a bit of spice, I would imagine. But it was always going to be an away fixture. Many were predicting a trip to Pittodrie, perhaps. Tynecastle Rangers went in there last season, so I don't think that was on the cards. But it's going to be tricky nevertheless. What do you make of the fixtures? The Old Firm game coming around pretty sharpish.
Always the case, isn't it? It's always the fourth game, isn't it? So that's fairly standard. Interesting that Motherwell are going to be having a new manager in charge. So Jens Berthel Askew, very experienced coach and manager from Denmark, who I think impressed at his press conference, spoke well. And listen, that's a bit of a cliche now. We're all saying that, aren't we? We said that so much.
Everyone speaks well. Does everyone never speak well? Does anyone ever come in and not speak well in their opening press conference?
True.
Although I did like Stephen Presley's. Did like Stephen Presley's the other day there, where he said, "If you're looking for a guy to win trophies, I'm not your man," which I did enjoy.
He's been honest, I suppose, isn't he? It's going to be really interesting to see how this guy sets Motherwell up. Obviously, coming from a completely different environment, completely different culture of football, but he does have that football expertise from the UK. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table. It's not the most difficult start that Rangers could have had, I don't think. You look at the potential to go to Pittodrie on the opening game, potential to go to Tynecastle, which I thought was an absolute raging certainty, that it would be Derek McInnes versus Russell Martin, hardest possible start. Hearts already, I think, made 6 signings, looking good, getting in players that have a bit of both experience about them in the league, and then also exciting guys who maybe you haven't heard so much about from other leagues. And that's the Jamestown factor kicking in. So that would have been a difficult one, but it's not happened. Motherwell, I think it's a solid ask. If you were going to select a team, Motherwell would have been the ones that I think Rangers would have been thinking that well, it's certainly not one of the worst fixtures that you could start with. I remember during the Gerrard era, it felt like it was Kilmarnock every single time, didn't it? You go to that plastic pitch, and it was always like a brutal start to the season. You knew it was going to be almost an upward battle from day one because it was under Steve Clarke, and that Kilmarnock team was really gritty and determined and well organised and sat in their shape and were just horrible to play against. So Motherwell, I think they can be pleased with that.
Yep. Thanks to those of you getting in touch. The game against Motherwell will be a 5:30 p.m. kickoff on the Saturday. So a Saturday evening kickoff for Rangers to begin the campaign. Just trying to think when the last time Rangers went to Motherwell. I do remember Le Guin's first match there when Rangers won 2-1. I remember back in 2006 it was, I believe. Was it Purcell and Sionko got the goals that day?
Yep.
So
I remember that one well. I was a student at the time. I had a part-time job, and I was serving at the counter of the part-time job, and in walked Ian Murray, who had played in the game, and had a wee chat with him about it. But I remember thinking that season was going to be a very, very bright one for Rangers because, of course, Paul Le Guin had come in, and the football was terrific that day. It was, silky. Charlie Adam, I think, came in and really, really impressed on the left wing. I don't think I'd quite noticed how slow Charlie was at that point, but he was much younger, so he was a bit more mobile, and obviously still had that wonderful left foot that he had. But Purcell was excellent that day as a sort of lone front man. I remember that, and Rangers looked really, really good. Unfortunately, I don't think they looked really, really good again in Paul Le Guin's reign, and that's why he left after 6 months.
Well, they look good in Europe, that's for sure. He managed to get
actually, that's true.
for European matches. But we do digress. Let's move on then. So that's the fixtures, folks, for your diary. You can check them out. It's on the website and on our social media channels as well. So if you want to set the dates for your diary, I know that many like to get them into your phone calendars and that sort of thing. So very much something I do. Anyway, moving on. And before we talk transfers, Johnny, some of the big news to emerge yesterday was Rangers being fined by the SFA over the comments made by John Brown in the final game of last season at Easter Road against Hibs when Nico Raskin goal wasn't given despite the ball being over the line. He called it, he said, I would say it's corrupt on Rangers TV. Tom Miller, the commentator, says, I'm not sure we can actually say that. Before John Brown continued, well, I am saying it. So the SFA have issued Rangers a £3,000 fine. Rangers have released, they say they have breached the disciplinary rule 38 following his remark. And Rangers released a very strongly worded statement in defence of John Brown. They've raised incidents that have happened before in other club channels that have been said that have went unpunished. So Rangers certainly feel aggrieved at this. And I can get their point on it, Johnny. Where do you stand on this one? It's fair to say that the fans and the club are not happy at the Beaks handing Rangers this sort of punishment.
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 points here. Number one really is, was Bomber Brown out of order with what he said? Should he have been saying that on a club channel? That's a separate argument to this. I've been speaking to a few people about this over the last few days and mulling over my thoughts about what a club channel needs to be in 2025 and how difficult it is to kind of be essentially the voice of Rangers as a club channel. When really what fans are looking for from a club channel is to be partisan, it's to reflect their own feelings about the team, their love for the team. And, I think we've just got to understand that in 2025, and when I say we, I mean the SFA, that's what the club channels need to be delivering to be successful. In the past, they've always kind of adopted, I think, a sort of relaxed approach to all this because they're aware of that. You look at the comments that were made about Alfredo Morelos from Irvin Welsh, preposterous comments.
Yes.
I think Tom Boyd cast aspersions on John Beaton in a Celtic club channel. And I've got a colleague who regularly watches. He's a big fan of Motherwell and regularly watches club TV of other channels, and says it's regular that you get very, very partisan stuff on the channels and you get emotional reactions in commentary. The difference is with Rangers is there's that many people watching it, and it's going to get clipped up and then put out when someone says something that's considered objectionable or considered unusual. That would happen the same at Celtic. It's just these two giant clubs. And fundamentally, the SFA have come out here and decided that it just went beyond the pale. But I don't really see a vast difference between the examples of the past and this example. Yeah. To call out corruption or to call it corruption immediately is very strong. But then other comments were made about John Beaton and going back to his bar, and there's clear connotations there about what that means. So I think ultimately this was one that the SFA should have kind of probably taken a step back from. I don't think John Brown's comments were right. I don't believe there's a conspiracy against Rangers at the SFA. I think it's ludicrous. I've said that consistently across 4 years on the channel. It's never popular in the comments. Don't really care. I'm here to give my opinion and be honest about it. I don't see that. That's just my personal opinion. Everyone's going to have a different opinion on it. So I don't agree with John's initial comments. At the same time, I think that a club media channel has to be a place where you can be partisan and emotional, as long as it's in tune with the broadcasting regulations. And Derek, you do club channel for Bolton down south on your weekends when you're not working at the Rangers Review, so you've probably got a better perspective on this than I do, because you've lived it. You're there. What's your take on it?
Listen, we slag referees off as well, but we've not went as far as calling him corrupt. The issue with me is it was Bomber's. You could say it's his opinion at that point. It was challenged immediately by the commentator Tom Miller. So it's not exactly Rangers TV coming out and saying it's corrupt with no challenge. So that's the issue I have with it. It was challenged at the time, so it's a dangerous road.
What more could Tom Miller have done, Derek? What more could he have done in that moment?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's extremely harsh, given, as you stated, previous examples that have gone unpunished. I don't understand why Rangers have been singled out here and others haven't. So I think Rangers quite right to cite those examples. That £3,000 has to be paid within 30 days, apparently. But I said yesterday they should put that money to good use. Let's invest in goal line technology and proper officiating training, because that what unfolded at Easter Road on that day in Leith was unacceptable, and it needs addressed pronto. Not John Brown's comments, which the Beaks are addressing, but the wider issue here, which is that decision is pretty much made Scottish football a laughingstock throughout. So it needs addressed for next season, and I very much doubt it will be.
They've also opened up a massive can of worms from the SFA point of view, Derek. And from now on in that people are going to troll through every club channel in the top flight looking for examples of, doesn't have to actually even be in the top flight, can be in any of the SPFL leagues, of examples where these rampant, comments suggesting that there's a bias or that there's poor performance by a referee or anything controversial. And listen, you can extend that out. You look at things like even like Sky's coverage, and that's authorised by the SPFL. They're there on behalf of a deal that's been agreed by Neil Doncaster. Chris Sutton's not exactly been slow in the past to suggest he's been a bias against his team. Again, something I think is preposterous. But then you in a situation there where the SPFL is going to be getting looked at by the SFA over comments that are being made on behalf of them. It's just it's very, very messy and unnecessary. And I think one of my pals always says regarding sort of columnists and opinionists in the sports media game that we're in, he always says, you don't have to take a swing at every pitch. And for me, the SFA on this one, I just think it's an unnecessary situation they've got themselves into, whereby now every time there's a club media comment that's slightly dubious or slightly controversial, they are going to be bogged down in a storm.
Yeah.
Especially with Celtic.
Well, yeah. Rangers did say in that statement, folks, I'll read you the tail end of it, very strongly worded. It says, in choosing to pursue this case, the Scottish FA has opened the door to closer scrutiny of how similar situations are handled going forward. If this is now the standard, they will be watched closely to ensure it is applied across the board consistently, without exception and without favour. So you can read that statement in full over on the Rangers Review website. I also went through it on our news bulletin yesterday as well. So watch this space with regards to that. Yeah, guests will be in tenterhooks, I'd imagine, on the club channels. And
absolutely.
I would like to see Bomber back on first game of the season, right enough. I know Rangers posted out that.
100%. Again, look, this is entertainment, Derek.
I know.
It's entertainment. That's the whole point. And Rangers fans find Bomber entertaining.
Yeah.
So I just think we're in danger, as usual in Scottish football, of everyone just taking everything too seriously, everyone getting furious and raging about something that really, it's quite trifling, really, isn't it? Like, we're talking about a game, it was a dead rubber, it didn't matter, and fundamentally, everyone's up in arms over it. And it's just another example of where we need to just like calm down a little bit as a nation and just be a little bit more relaxed. Club media is there, and club media channels are there for Rangers supporters. It's playing to the gallery. That's what the whole point of it is. So you're going to have to expect some level of that. And listen, like any other broadcasting organization, they can't just say whatever they want. These guidelines, etc., etc. But I would argue the Rangers employee that was there did everything that he could to make sure that that point was made, that it wasn't the opinion of Rangers. And then I just think you just have to move forward with it.
Yeah. Watch this space with regards to that. I'd be certainly looking to appeal and challenge it further if I was Rangers. But there you go. Moving on from that then, let's talk transfers, Johnny, because a lot of supporters are asking the same question as Paul here. He says, where is our signings? Rangers, of course, have got one boy in the door in Lyle Cameron, although that was a pre-contract. He was unveiled the other day there. But you touched on Hearts have brought in, 6 players already?
I think it's 6,
yeah. They're shopping in a different market than what Rangers are shopping in. Despite that, I've seen many supporters saying they expected at least 2-3 signings in the door already at this stage. At this point in time, where the situation is, I mean, as I touched on there, we've got Lyle Cameron in. Rangers will have an interest in Kwame Poku, the out-of-contract Peterborough winger, Max Aarons as well. But the Aarons one, I think, as we've touched on a number of shows now, Bournemouth looking for a straight transfer for him. Rangers reportedly wanting to bring him in on loan. Kwame Poku, as we know, has got a host of clubs chasing his signature. There's been a number of championship teams that have joined the race. QPR said to be in for him. He was linked with a move to Germany and Frankfurt yesterday as well. If the Rangers were to get this boy, I think it would be a bit of a coup, but at this point, nothing looks to be imminent, Johnny. Is that a concern given, of course, the huge mammoth fixture of Panathinaikos on the horizon?
I think we have to put it in the context. It's still only 20th of June. There's still quite a long way to go. But the longer that you run without actually having made any signings, the more concerning it will get. There's just no two ways about it. This Panathinaikos game is looming. And listen, even Steven Gerrard's 55 team going up against Panathinaikos is a really difficult tie over 2 legs, especially at the start of the season when you aren't up to speed. Never mind the fact that you've got to bed in a new style of play with a new manager, what will presumably be a load of new players, and some of your best players in the summer going out the door. Now, some people will say, like, and I totally understand that, and I'd probably be one of them saying it was time for Leon Balogun and Yanis Hadji to go. Like, they'd run the race at Rangers. Vaclav Černý obviously left because he was on loan and there was no option to retain him. But these are three international players, you know, with long histories in international football, being at the top level for their countries, all, you know, reasonably good footballing countries, Czech Republic, Romania, and Nigeria. And these guys have walked out the door. So right away, you're talking about three guys who are in or around the first team last season who are not there to select from. So Rangers are weaker and they haven't added anything. So, Derek, I really think they need to get their skates on. But I also think everyone needs to kind of let this process take place and to understand that while things might not go quickly, I think they are now going to be done with a long-term purpose in mind. Realistically, this Champions League stage for me has just come too soon. I don't think Rangers are in a position that they can seriously be expected to qualify for the Champions League. I think getting past Panathinaikos would be a really, really good achievement because it opens up then the guaranteed access to the Europa League. If they lose to Panathinaikos, it becomes very difficult. You go in unseeded to the Europa League third qualifying round. Some very, very good teams lying in wait there. You lose that, you drop into the Conference League qualifier, and again, there could be some reasonably good teams in that. You would still fancy Rangers, obviously, at that level, but it's potentially painful. This Panathinaikos one's really important because you get through it, you know you're in a reasonable position, and you've got another crack at getting to the really, really, really big money in the Champions League.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to come around too soon. I know that if the players don't return until Monday, and we're also great, Stevie, with the point as well. Is everything being held up until this EGM happens? Possibly. I know that when they took over the 49ers Enterprises, a consortium, they say they're pumping in, £28 million as an initial investment. Perhaps we might see activity happen from Monday onwards with regards to incomings. Has to happen soon because the team, as we touched on there, are back on Monday, and Russell Martin will be looking to do his utmost with the squad and try and get them used to his style of play, which takes time. Everyone I speak to says it takes about 2-3 months before you start seeing the benefits of that. So I think there's going to be a few bumps in the road prior to that point. Let's hope the bumps aren't too strenuous for Rangers. For me, I know they've been linked with another striker, Johnny, but defensively, I said it before, you touched on there, Balogun's left the building. Who knows if John Souttar's going to be back and available for that Panathinaikos game.
Derek, on that, and you've just done an amazing segue without even knowing it. I've just been sent the transcript from Russell Martin talking to Sky. Here's what he had to say about John Souttar. Being asked if he'd be ready for the game, he said, so John wants to play for his country, and I think so many players, especially at the end of the season, get lambasted for not going away or pulling out of international games for whatever reason. So John made the decision that he had a bit of a minor injury, but he wanted to go and play. He's desperate to play for his country, which I admire. So the plan here, and everyone was aware of it, was to get sorted off that. So he's had a minor op, and we expect him to be fit for the Panathinaikos game. So it hasn't really affected the preparation. He's been able to go away and play and then be ready for us. So I think that kind of backs up what we've been saying on here. It's a classic tabloid red top story.
Yeah.
It's both right and not necessarily right in that, is there a drama? Rangers clearly don't think there's any drama. It's all been planned. This is the way they see it. But you would ask yourself, the way this has been planned, putting a little bit of priority or allowing the player to put a little bit of priority on the Scotland game, was that right or not? Fundamentally, Derek, it comes down to this. Does he play in that game at Panathinaikos? And if he does, it's absolutely fine. There's no issue. And if he doesn't, which I would say from what it sounds like would be highly unlikely, then I think Rangers will have some questions to answer on that, and John Souttar himself will have some questions to answer. But that's what, anyway, regardless, that is what John Souttar had to say regarding it.
Yeah, if Russell Martin's comfortable with that, then you've got to be you've got to take his word for it. I said it yesterday. If he is back for the game, fair enough. The issue I would have is I would want him back with the group of players on the start of pre-season, because, as I touched on there, his style of play, I'd want him in part of the drills, taking part of everything that's going on with that squad as well. But good little update. Always like a bit of breaking news on the show. So there you go. But as imperative, Johnny, is that the wider issue of the defence is something that I think Rangers need to sort out. We've seen last season the goals that they were conceding. Unacceptable. That cannot continue. They need to bring in 2 centre halves for me. Robin Propper, remains to be seen what's going to happen with him. We know that FC20 keen on re-signing him. He was speaking to Russell Martin whether he sees himself as part of his plans. Ben Davies has returned, of course, as well. Someone that Russell Martin will know and will be well aware of. He had a good season at Birmingham City. But whether he has a Rangers future, who knows? Still think they need 2 rugged centre-backs. Johnny, would you agree?
Well, the question is, do rugged centre-backs fit the model that this new manager is going to play? Because it's all about taking the ball at the back under pressure and playing through the lines. So it might be that Ben Davies, I mean, let's be honest, that's what he's good at. That's his game.
I know.
It might be that he becomes someone that Russell Martin wants to work with. I don't know. I'd be pretty unhappy about that from a Rangers point of view, because I think we've seen that Ben Davies, tidy footballer though that he is, can't really cope with the rigours of Scottish football when he's having to deal with the rough and tumble of big, powerful centre forwards who, like the dark arts and kind of bully him a little bit. But you've got to understand that perhaps that the system itself will be bigger than the individual players, and that having a guy that can progress the ball out is what he's looking for. You look at Rangers last season, and if you're talking about that team, absolutely what you need is 2 big rugged centre-halves who can deal with the nonsense and just sort it out, who can defend. But until we see what this is going to look like, this football under Russell Martin, and I suspect it's going to be a lot more about control, and it's going to be a lot more progressive and a lot more in line with what we see when we watch the Premier League down south. I think he's going to look for players who can use the ball well. And that's why, and here's a wee prediction, I think Clinton Nsiala could be a bigger player than people are thinking. I was really, really impressed with his use of the ball when he was in the side. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's raw. He's also reasonably quick. And I wonder if left-sided centre-halves are rare. I wonder if, Russell Martin will look at him and think there's something there that we can build forward with Clinton Nsiala. Maybe he's still a bit young. Maybe he needs a season out on loan, or maybe he needs another season as a kind of backup. But I think the raw materials are there, and it's just time and patience that he would require.
I hope you're right, because I want to see more of him as well. I was hoping to see more of him sort of tail end of last season. Certainly handled himself, I thought, really well when he came off the bench against Bilbao in that game in Spain, which was a bit powder keg fixture, of course. I thought he handled himself really well. So I don't have any qualms about that. I just want to see him given a chance. I think there will be mistakes. He's still learning the game. That was his first proper season as a senior player, last season. So he is still raw, of course, but I just hope that we can see more of him next season. I don't want to see him getting put out on loan, although I get why an argument that could benefit him in the long term. But NCL, I would be totally fine with that.
Can I throw in a wee comment at you, Derek, rather than you throwing them at me?
Yeah.
So this one's from Andrew Phillips. He said, I could see us keeping Propper and Davies due to their passing and being able to play out from the back. Now, Derek Clark, would that blow your mind?
It hasn't even entered my mind until you flashed that comment up there from Andrew. Wow. I don't think you get many fans happy at that prospect, but listen, they're good ball playing.
The thought process is right, though.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say under Russell Martin, you're not going to get a big hairy-arsed centre-back who's going to just boot the ball into Rosette. That's not going to be what he's going to go after. Now, personally, I think he needs a combination of guys who can play and defend and deal with the rigours of the big guy up front that St Mirren are going to have, or Livingston are going to have. But it'll be interesting to see what Martin decides once he gets a real good look at these players close up in the training ground. And listen, everyone's got proper going away to 20, but the fact is, even the 20 director of football has said he's we'd be delighted to have him back, but he's not want to leave until he's had a really good chat with the Rangers manager or the Rangers head coach, as it is, and understands where his future lies. So it could be he comes back for a few weeks and things change.
If I'm a striker going up against Proper and Davis, I'm fancying my chances. Put it that way.
Listen, Derek McInnes would be licking his lips at the prospect of his Hearts team going up against that centre-back duo, 100%.
Yeah, so there you go. A couple of comments to rattle through here. Billy Jolly's kindly donated to the channel, but I don't know what you mean here. He just says share. I don't know if you're a fan of her work or what have you, but good singer in her day, Johnny.
Loved Cher, mate. Believe. Remember that one? That cracker came out in the late 90s?
Yep.
Big part of the club scene when I was just a young mucker, mate. But before that, Cher, fantastic with, what was her husband called again? Cher and...
Sonny and Cher, wasn't it?
Sonny, yeah. And I Got You, Babe, and all that. So, yeah, like a bit of Cher, mate. If I could turn back time, I would find a way.
She's someone that has had plastic surgery, but she's known when to stop and she looks good for it, I think, whereas others just go too far. I think that's a fair comment.
I'm not going to comment on the 80-year-old woman and how she looks.
Yeah,
for Mr. Clark.
We've got a Greek chap in here, and we'll touch on this. He says Dessers close to a key question mark. By all accounts, the two clubs are in discussions. I think a key looking, according to reports, looking to pay. They don't want to go above 4.5 million euros, around 3.8 million quid. But Rangers sticking to their guns. I think Rangers want close to 4 million quid there or thereabouts, maybe a bit more, which they're well within the rights to do. That's another one, Johnny. I know Rangers have been linked with a number of strikers, but you can't be selling Cyril Dessers on the cheap. He could be the man to lead the line against Panathinaikos if a club doesn't come and meet the asking price.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to say that based on what we saw towards the end of the season, it was quite clear that Cyril Dessers was ahead of Igaman as the number one striker. Now, different manager perhaps has a different opinion. But you have to look at Dessers' goal-scoring ratio, his big goals and big games in Europe in particular. These aspects will attract teams who are looking for a guy to put the ball in the back of the net. Personally, I think if you can get £4 million for Cyril Dessers at 30, you've done exceptionally well. Now, the book value of Dessers, remember, is 2 years on going to be significantly less than the price that they paid. You know, this amortization, that how footballers are valued on the accounts. So £4 million would represent a profit on his book value for Rangers that they could use in other areas. And I think he's someone I would look to move on. I do feel like sometimes that the AEK story has got a little bit ahead of itself.
Yeah,
certainly from what I'm hearing, I don't think it's quite been as much of a done deal as people have been saying. But certainly the level of noise around it and the consistency of the noise and the certainty of some of the Greek media who are around AEK as a club would suggest that there's real chops and real legs in this story. I think Josh has reported it as well, that he's aware of it. So
yeah,
it's something that will inevitably continue to rumble on until we hear that it's actually done and dusted. But Derek, would you sell Dessers right now if you're Rangers with this upcoming? You'd have to be pretty confident you were going to be able to get in some serious quality.
Only if they've got someone lined up, then I would be getting shot off him. But I said it before, I'll miss him. I know he frustrates the living daylights out of people, but I think he's proven to be value for money for me over his time.
Lovely big guy. Won't miss him on a football pitch.
Fair enough. Right, and this point here, and it's just came out actually. Jim says, looking forward to Johnny's email at 10 a.m. What can people read today in your weekly newsletter, Johnny?
It's just a little bit about the, I suppose the Panathinaikos draw and what it means, and why this is a takeover for the long term, and everyone will get excited about this game, and if it doesn't go well, what the implications of that are. Fundamentally, it's a 50-50 game at the best of times, and I think what there has to be a level of understanding of is that Russell Martin needs to be given a bit of breathing space, regardless of this game, to implement what he's been brought in to implement. And I don't think he's going to get knocked off course with that. I don't think the owners are going to get knocked off course with that. I think for the fans and the media, it might be a little bit of an unusual one, because I don't think there'll be the same level of maybe influencing opinion. Those days, I think, are over. But as a cold-hearted business operator, I would expect the guys that are in charge of Rangers to be looking at, December to start thinking about where Russell Martin is as a Rangers manager, as opposed to, June, July.
So patience required, basically.
Exactly. Exactly.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely. Listen, realpolitik, Rangers is always about winning. If Russell Martin loses a pile of games, he's going to be under big pressure. He's not going to be able to hide behind a philosophy that needs time to bed in. But we're in a sort of unknown situation here, because we don't know what we don't know about how this new ownership structure will deal with that sort of thing. We know how the past one did, and we could judge when Michael Beale was in trouble and when he was gone. We could judge when Gio was in trouble and when he was gone. And even with Philippe Clement, although it went on far longer than we were expecting, you kind of knew after that Queen's Park game that it was almost impossible for them to kind of continue it for too long after that. And then obviously they did until the St Mirren game, and that just proved the straw that broke the camel's back. So it's going to be very interesting to see this sort of cultural change. These American owners who aren't influenced in perhaps the way past owners have been, and how fans and external influences kind of react to this change and shifting power dynamic. It's going to be fascinating for geeks like me.
Yeah, for sure. Francis with some nice words. She says, Johnny's email is always interesting reading. I, for one, enjoy reading it. Thanks, Johnny. So thank you,
Thank
Francis.
you. Thanks, Francis.
Yep. And so we'll wrap up there for now. If you want to sign up to Johnny's email, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/newsletters, and you'll be able to sign up for that. It's totally free, and stick your email address in there, and you'll get it dropping into your account at 10 a.m. on a Friday morning. Right, we'll call it a day there. Up to anything over the weekend, Johnny?
I'm going to see a friend on Saturday night. Some old school friends, couple of glasses of wine, maybe a beer in the sun, and enjoy myself with them. But apart from that, Derek, boring. So boring. When you've got a young kid, your life just becomes really, really, really kind of orientated around the family. So I don't think there's any excitement whatsoever. I would really like to go and see the new Danny Boyle film. Is it 28 Years Later? The follow-up to 28 Days Later.
Ah, okay.
So it's a zombie film, Derek. You're clearly not in touch with the culture. But so I'd like to get that at some point. I'll try and sneak away for a couple of hours and catch up with it if my wife lets me.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, hopefully you have a lovely weekend, and all of you into the chat as well. Hopefully you have a fantastic few days. A heads up of what's coming on the channel. Myself and Stevie recording a show that will be with you on Saturday. It should be, so something to tide you over the weekend as well, to keep your Rangers fix going. If there is any transfer news, any developments with regards to anything with all things Rangers, make sure you're subscribed not only to hear the channel on YouTube, but also to the website, and to keep your eyes peeled on the social media accounts as well. Right, Enjoy your Friday, and we'll speak to you later. Bye for now.